Hey, welcome back to Evil's Comics. This guy right here is Evil Mike, and I got a review for you. From Image Comics, this is Gospel Issue 1. It is written by Will Morris and cover by Ver. This book was not what I thought it was going to be. I could have swore I read a description, and it was saying like magic, fantasy, medieval, that kind of stuff. It does have the medieval aspect of it, because the book does take place in 1538, but it's more like a factional like story or something like that, because it plays a lot, and I should have known by the name, but the name actually gives off a lot of clues in the book once you get down to reading it. But on the first page it kind of catch you up on where the story takes place, and basically it's King Henry VIII. He wants to get remarried. The kingdomhood of England is tied to the church. The Pope denies, doesn't allow him to get married. And basically the King Henry VIII gets pissed. And that's kind of how we got the English translated version of the Bible, basically, was because of that incident. And it kind of displays that all in the beginning of the book, how, at that time, the King Henry, he got pissed, and because the Pope didn't let him, so they kind of cut ties with the Latin side of the church, and that's how we got the English side of the church. But at the time, King Henry, him being pissed, he was destroying monuments and churches, and also getting rid of the Latin Bible. And that's kind of how we got that's what the book is telling us, how we got the English version of the Bible. But the book starts out and we catch up with our main character featured on the cover right there, and it's Matilda. It's basically this huge action scene where this big boar comes into town. Matilda is like the town savior, so she's basically trying to take out the boar, and the boar's trying to take out her. It's this whole massive action scene where she's running, jumping, trying to take out the boar. Eventually, she does. She beheads the boar by jumping on top of it, shown right here. And we find out that all this is just a story being told in the bar, and a far-fetched story at that. Because inside the bar we meet another character named Pitt, and Pitt is the author of the real story because he was actually there. Pitt's right here. Yeah, but basically he's saying that over time that the story was one thing, and now it's grown and turned into something else, and he's not against the story, but we kind of find out how the real story went down on this page over here. And it wasn't even a big giant boar, it was a little bitty piglet, and basically Matilda brought it into like this pottery shop, and I think it's her father's pottery shop. But basically it's kind of the same situation. The piglet's running around. It's a whole big action scene, and she eventually does catch the piglet and a mouse too. But eventually we see Pitt again, and I think he's in the backside of the pottery barn, let's just say. And there's a painter she's actually a strainer that works in the back of the pottery barn that is familiar with Pitt. Pitt has brought her. I want to say it's the Latin version of the Bible, because at this time it's being, it's being banned around the country. And to a lot of these people, if you can imagine at the time, just one day one Bible was readily available, and the next day they're like, nope, you can't read that no more, and it's banned. If we catch you with it, it could be death. And that's kind of what Pitt's doing. Pitt's bringing the Bible to her. She's happy to get it. She's asking for more. He's like, yeah, I'll have to cut some corners, kind of thing. The piglet thing's still going on, but like I said, she does eventually catch it. Eventually she does run into I want to say it's like one of the towns, maybe like a mayor or something like that. They do give her a title. She's some sort of like guild master or something like that. And Matilda and Pitt, I think they're both trying to apprentice for like tithe collecting, basically like taxes or something like that. But basically this is where Matilda is convincing Pitt to, make these stories of her more outlandish, and her reasoning is because the land and the people need some kind of hope and stuff like that. They do like over here in the top corner of this page, they show some of the things that King Henry VIII has done, and it's basically demolishing monasteries, getting rid of certain, statue figures like saints, and then silencing, actually people by hanging them and stuff. Um, Now, this is kind of where the book got really weird, because all of a sudden it jumps to modern time. You can tell by the car and stuff like this. But we're catching up with these two characters, one being this homeowner, and then this lady is a caseworker checking up on this homeowner. As you can tell, the homeowner's house is very chaotic and hoarder-ish. Very disorderly kind of thing. He loves it. It's his. I mean, it's his home. But that supposedly there are neighbors that are concerned. That's why the caseworker is checking up on him. We find out that the whole beginning of the book is basically him just rambling on, telling this story to this caseworker, and her name being, I think her name is like Karen Giddy, or Giddy Karen. It's weird, because he calls her Miss Karen, and then she's like, call me Giddy. Right here and right here. But basically, she's trying to figure out the situation, why he's living like this, and why he can't move somewhere else because the neighbors are bothered by him. And he's like, well, let me tell you another story kind of thing, and it'll explain everything. And then we go back to Matilda and everything. Basically, at this point, we do find out that on these pages, it's that the painter and Pitt's basically telling her that he might be about to leaving the town they're at, and she's kind of stating the same thing. Basically, the guild is forcing her out, even though she's like the best painter in town or something like that. But they end up kind of parting ways. Pitt goes back to Matilda, and Matilda's still trying to convince him to, create different stories. And she does mention some other stories that sound interesting, like folklore, monster, kind of things, like Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster, but just her versions. And she kind of explained that this is kind of where she's explaining why she wants the story to, be bigger, because she kind of points out like farm hands and stuff like that, and talking about like diseases and what other things that they have to worry about. As this conversation's going on with Pitt and Matilda, like Pitt kind of noticed that in the town, and as you can tell, they're at a very mountaintop view of the town, but a church is on fire in the town. Matilda kind of mentioned something about that this isn't how it's supposed to go down, and Pitt kind of catches it, and he's like, don't tell me you're behind this somehow, or something like that, like her trying to create some story where she looks like a hero. And it does start out like that, because she runs down, she actually gets on this platform, and she starts talking to the townspeople and stuff, like, hey, I'm Matilda, even though the church is on fire, I'll save you, but there's some other, as she's giving that speech, some guy runs up, and he's like, there's some demons that caught the church on fire. We see the supposed demon over here. It's this guy dressed in this donkey outfit, but he comes up to the stand, and he's all like, he's pissed at Matilda. He's like, oh, you backstabber, you hired somebody else to do the job. He was like, man, I'm keeping the money you gave me, even though I didn't do it. And she's like, what do you mean you didn't do it? And basically he's like, it's up there, go look. And as he kind of says this, the church kind of engulfs more in fire, explosions, that kind of thing. And we do see a figure on like a cliffside that's over there, and they kind of view in on him, and then another explosion happens. Matilda ends up on the ground, and when she ends up on the ground, she pulls out like a periscope, and she does end up saving Pitt when this goes down, one of her heroic actions. But she does pull out her periscope, and we see right here that is a figure that looks very much like the original version of Satan, let's just say. Then we get the cover of the second issue, which looks really dope. It features the devil looking And it does say something like, let's see, the devil has returned. Um, Honestly, my thoughts on the book, I was really like, oh, and it says right here, there's another cool thing. It says, like, when opportunity refuses to knock, the devil comes knocking instead. And then it shows the devil over Matilda or whatever. And this is where he explains about the, how he met the guy that did the cover and Ver. Like I said, the book isn't what I thought, but after reading it and getting into it, it wasn't a bad read. It wasn't a slow read. I didn't have to force myself to read it. It was actually interesting to see what they were trying to build up to. It's not what I thought they were going to do with this whole like Satan thing at the end of the book, but that kind of enticed me more, especially because on the cover, and I didn't notice it, but Gospel has the upside down cross, which is, it would be, Satan's cross or what have you. That would be the clue on the cover. So I don't know what that, what that means, what's coming. So I'm kind of interested there to see where the story is going. I could say the art is fantastic. It has a very like old school appeal to it, but the colors are kind of like a pastel mix, give it a fresh vibe kind of deal. I do like the aspect of the tall tale stories. I've always been a fan of tall tale stories like Paul Bunyan and John Henry and stuff like that. And those are just some of our American tall tales, but I've always enjoyed like folklore and tall tales and stuff like that. So I'm definitely for the second issue. Let me know your thoughts down below, especially after hearing what this book is about, because I know there wasn't a lot of people that mentioned this book had even dropped. Like I said, when I picked this book up, I think there was only 3 copies in my shop, period. I was surprised to get one myself. But hey, that's all I got for you. Please like, comment, subscribe. That helps me so much. The more engaging comments get, the more... No, I'm just playing. But hey, that's all I got for you. Y'all have a great weekend. I do have more reviews coming. Yeah, and that's it. Bye, guys.